This will be the very first recorded Earth Charter dialogue. But what are we about to do? Aline, can you explain what are the criteria for an Earth Charter dialogue?
Yes, well, two people from different generations, they team up to start a dialogue. They decide which common value or principle expressed in the Earth Charter they want to discuss, or which part of the Earth Charter is most close to their heart. And a starting point could be, for instance, the question how the Earth Charter could help with a dilemma in your daily work or in your daily life. And then it should help to help us think more out of the box.
I agree. I also think that it's really important that in such a dialogue you stay really close to yourself and that you ask yourself, what is the core of what motivates me? What moves me personally? And that could be really hard to speak from your heart, but you can help each other by asking each other the unexpected in a spontaneous way. It can be a challenge.
It can be a moment of connection.
Yes, and let's recall how we came up with this idea, actually, to start with the Earth Charter dialogues.
It came up in our brainstorm when we came back from the Earth Summit, from the Rio+20 UN Conference on Sustainable Development. We reflected on our experiences there, and in fact it was really special that we were there together, and we came back together. I went to different summits and UN conferences in the last decades, part of my work as well, part of the Earth Charter initiative as well. And I remember that in the Millennium Summit in 2010, we started a blog as mother and daughter on the Millennium Development Goals. And that was a virtual dialogue. But now we had the chance, since you went to the Earth Summit in your own capacity as member of the major group, UN major group of children and youth, to be there together, have our own experiences, do much more. We also had another group of young women around us, and then we could really reflect on it. And I remember it was amazing when we went back. We said that in spite of all the difficult circumstances of this summit, there was a lot of inspiration, there was a lot of ambition, and especially outside of the UN negotiations, such as in the People's Summit and in the business fora. There was the ambition, there was the inspiration, and we were really disappointed that in the official negotiations rooms, the Earth Charter and the sense of urgency and the ambitions were not there.
Yeah, that's the thing. After this conference and during this conference, actually, mostly, above all, I was frustrated that this outcome document called The Future We Want, the first sentence said it came about with full consultation, full participation of civil society, while really it was not full participation and consultation. While the Earth Charter, what I understood from it, was. So while struggling in the major group with other youth participants, I constantly had to remind myself of what we were really talking about, that it was about respect and care for the community of life in its entirety. It seemed really hard that once you're in such a system, to stay close to yourself, to follow your intuition, instead of also falling in that almost dehumanized language of like efficiency as a value.
Well, I know that the Earth Charter is a source of inspiration for you in this Thumbs Up journey, but I didn't realize the Earth Charter also meant something for you in the field of global governance. And that's how I worked with the Earth Charter so far. In the field of international cooperation and governance, I think the Earth Charter has a value because it integrates all agreements and norms so far. It also reminds us of the universal responsibility we have to the wider community of life and to each other. But what's really special of this document to me is that there's no other international declaration that uses language such as we are one human family and one Earth community with a common destiny, or care for the community of life with understanding, compassion, and love. And when you imagine that this was not written by a poet, somebody, an individual, it came out of this worldwide dialogue where women contributed, indigenous people contributed, scientists contributed, and then still a word like love was there. I remember the Brazilians wouldn't put their signature if that word wasn't inside. Now, what really makes the Earth Charter special to me, and it's still difficult for me to really grasp it, I have to read it over and over again, that's why I really need the Earth Charter text in front of me, is that it speaks to the spirit of human solidarity and kinship with all life. And it says how we can strengthen this. Strengthen it when we live with the reverence for the mystery of being, gratitude for the gift of life, and humility regarding the human place in nature. And then, when I look at you, dear Ayla, and I think back of the night you were born, 22 years ago, with the full moon, I feel the gifts of life.
Wow. What strikes me the most, actually, from the Earth Charter document is that it speaks of one human family. And Earth is our home, as if we're all interconnected, as if we're all part of the same family.
Well, I'm so happy to hear you say this, because you are our only child. And my biggest fear was always that you'd feel alone in the world.
I am an only child, but I can choose my family. And if Earth is our home, if Mother Earth is our common ancestor, then when we think alike, then when we find out that we have the same beliefs and values, then we could be part of one family. And I think that's also the power of the document, that you can find each other in this, and once you understand that you think the same things, that it also gives some kind of trust to each other. It also makes you realize that at Rio Plus 40, it should be really different than as it was Rio Plus 20. But at Rio Plus 40, what am I talking about? I would be 42 years old. I might have children myself.
Indeed. So, I see you are not very patient, and rightly so. And indeed, a sense of urgency was missing in Rio Plus 20, and that's why we need to invest in the process now. Business leaders, civil society organizations, also politicians, individuals should be preparing for the Earth Charter to be the foundation for the next 20 years and to be the official outcome of Rio Plus 40.
Yeah, so that we can call the final document finally the future we want.
Exactly. And so I think it would be helpful to create some stepping stones in between to really be sure we get there. I remember that's why we started Celebrate Earth Charter Plus 5. At the beginning, the Earth Charter initiative didn't have any rituals or time plannings. And when we started to do this, take stock of 5 years Earth Charter initiative, we found out that so many individuals and organizations endorsed the Earth Charter. That was the first conclusion. And when we celebrated 10 years Earth Charter, we saw business actors were part of the initiative, and they were running fast. And also, you just presented Thumbs Up Africa. The communication technologies make it possible for the Earth Charter initiative to have a strategy of decentralized empowerment. We can all access information, we can all be part of it, and that's really new.
I think on the road it's also important that you personalize what it's about. You personalize this Earth Charter. If we want it for Rio Plus 40 to be an important document, everybody now should try to understand what's in there in their personal way. What does it mean to me? How can this be my charter? What would be in my charter?
Well, that's a very good idea. I think that's interesting because that way you could link the global level, the international aspirations with your personal intentions. But then, Ayla, what would be part of my charter? Give me an example.
I can't tell for anybody what should be in their my charter, but in my charter it would say to be an active global citizen, to stay positive, to be truthful, to be a change maker, and to try to inspire others to also be a change maker, and also to be authentic and to speak from the heart.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll write in my charter too.
You should.
To start writing my charter, I think I would build on the nice sentence in the Earth Charter preamble about human development, saying when basic needs have been met, human development is primarily about being more instead of having more. And then I would think of enjoy the pumpkins from our garden, the farm, make it slow, not fast, maybe paint a little bit more, spend time in nature, and maybe I think this would be a way for me to translate into practical steps, my charter, the missing link between the global and the personal level. And to quote the Earth Charter once more, what I like in the preamble as well is that it says we are at once citizens of different nations and of one world in which the local and the global are linked.
Well, next to all our concerns and commitments, let's continue to celebrate life and to live today.
Oh.